One more time. Good morning, everybody. We are filming here in the Coronado neighborhood. It's Saturday. It's beautiful outside.
75 degrees.
75 degrees. 75 degrees. That's about the same age of one Tim Castro, isn't it? Anyways, today I have a wonderful, wonderful guest. This guy is everywhere. This is Devin del Palacio. Devin, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Wow, lots of energy.
Fantastic, only because the weather's nice.
That's got to be
during the summer, I wouldn't do it, man. I love you, but I wouldn't be out here if it was 114 degrees.
Man,
okay?
I hear you. So you're an education advocate. You're a parent. Tolleson School Board VP and Director of Communication and Outreach at Big Brothers Big Sisters. Tell us what you do there.
So I'm the Director of Community Outreach for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona, and really my role is to ensure that we find mentors for our kids. Mentorship is key to transforming not only individuals but our communities, and so it's my job to seek partnerships, work with our schools, and work with anybody really to help meet the needs of our kids and ensure that they reach their full potential.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Chico was commenting that he caught a little video of you talking about the systemic racism in the classroom. And I just wanted you to touch on it a little bit, what that means to you, how you as a board member are trying to address it.
All right, well, great question. So here's the deal. We first, as education leaders, right, or advocates, we first have to acknowledge that public schools are rooted in racism, okay? Public schools, when they were originally created, were not created for all students, all right? So when we talk about the achievement gap, guess what? The system is working exactly how it was set up to work, right, with these gaps. So we first have to acknowledge that there's a problem and that there are systemic barriers. Once you acknowledge a problem, then you can work on solutions to address the problem. That's the first step, okay? And so personally, as a governing board member, I put in a lot of time doing research and seeking professional development to be able to bring forth policies to start to dismantle these systemic barriers, from ensuring that we have culturally relevant curriculum to ensuring that we are recruiting diverse educators in the classroom, to ensuring that we're creating a culture of inclusion on campus, okay? And so those are some of the steps I've taken, and even further, on a national level, I sit on the board of directors for the National School Board Association.
Oh, good job.
And this year, we created a new initiative called DIRE, and that's dismantling institutional racism in education, okay? And so, really, for school board members, this should be a non-negotiable. If you don't believe in equity, you shouldn't be a school board member, okay? I would implore our community to do their research on school board candidates and ensure that they're behind equity and that they are working to dismantle systemic racism, because it is real, okay?
But follow-up question. But a lot of people seem to think that is not true, that we're, a much more accepting society. And so how do you address that, when you're talking to someone that's like, no, it doesn't exist. Like, you have black and brown kids that are going to school with white kids. So systemic racism doesn't exist.
Sure. Well, I would say this. Look at the data, right? Data doesn't lie. And many people don't ask that question to see the data and the numbers in terms of disparities that exist within our school districts. From discipline to special education, gifted education, and so on and so forth. There are many disparities, unfortunately. And if you look at the data, you'll find that many students of color are often the ones that are on the bad end of a lot of these outcomes. And the question is why? So if systemic racism is not true, then why is it that our students of color continue to be at the bottom of some of these outcomes? Why is that the case? So I would ask that you look at the data, because the data doesn't lie.
And I'm going to just drop in one little data point. As someone who is in the state legislature, we have created a lot of systemic racism by giving money to wealthier schools than poorer schools. I'm just dropping that in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of funding comes from taxes on houses and
tax credits,
Um,
which there's huge disparities in that. We need to talk about that, by
absolutely,
the way.
absolutely. I mean, we know who gets the funding first, and as Devin is saying
Well,
here,
we know,
look at the data.
But we need to educate and inform.
Absolutely.
Well, we need to educate and inform the parents, because here's the deal. Yes, our schools are integrated, but in fact they're more segregated now than they were even back in the 60s.
Ooh.
Okay, and that's a real data
Wow.
point. We've seen a lot of folks move out of communities that serve predominantly majority kids of color into other areas. We've seen communities create charter schools just because they didn't want their kids going to school with those kids. All right. If you look at some of the data on who BASIS and some of these great heart institutions serve, it's not too diverse. They don't serve kids with special needs or disabilities, etc. You know, in public schools, we serve all children. We don't get to pick and choose, and we would never force anyone out.
Right.
And so there's extreme inequities everywhere, and they certainly exist in public education.
Absolutely. Wow. We should have just based this conversation on this. But we are going to move on to something that was really pressing. I'm a public school educator, and can't really say I had much of a summer between out collecting signatures and really worrying about what my district was going to do. Luckily, my union PECTA and AEA, we did a great job in communicating with our wonderful school board members at Phoenix L, Dr. Diaz, but there was a press conference that different organizations, a lot of educational leaders came together, and I remember seeing that live, and you dropped off a letter to Ducey on reopening. That was then. We are here today, and it seems like more and more school districts are having this conversation on to reopen. Where do you see where we are as a state, and what would you do with your school board right now?
Right. Well, great question, and I want to give a shout out to the physicians that we partnered with, to the other school board members that were a part of crafting the letter and ensuring that we delivered it to Governor Ducey. I had friends down in Tucson, board member Crystal, who's a board president in the Tucson Unified School District, my good friend Adam Lopez Falk down in Alhambra. I mean, there were so many great people that were a part of this, so many physicians who were also part of this letter, because we wanted to ensure that this wasn't just about bringing school boards to the table. It was about bringing the medical profession to the table as well, to say, hey, here's the data, and this is what it's telling us. Because as governors, as the legislators for local school districts, we must make decisions based off data. And the data at the time was telling us that opening schools should be a red flag. No, absolutely not. And so here we are now, where some school districts are starting to look at going back into the classroom via hybrid models. I think that's a grave mistake. It's a grave mistake. I, as a parent, will not be opting to send my child to in-person this semester. I think we ought to wait until January to really take a hard look at the data and see if it's safe to start instituting hybrid models. If you look at what other states are experiencing, other states that have already opened up their hybrid models and just allowed students back on campuses, we're seeing outbreaks. Look at what's happening at ASU.
Right.
Look at what is happening in Florida. Just yesterday, they had a 34% increase in positive tests among students in school.
Right.
It's insane. So here's what I've always said, and I said it from the beginning. Why are we playing Russian roulette with our children? Why? What's the rush?
And their families.
And their families.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the population that this is affecting the most are indigenous, Black, Latinos, communities of color.
Sure.
And so
Poorer families.
And working families who work hard. Like my mom, she still works to this day, 2 jobs, overtime. She has my sisters. I got one sister who goes to Central High School, and she's still struggling to figure it out. And it's families like those who have no option. Right. There really is no support for them. And so again, why risk it? Why risk the lives of our children, of our staff, and even our families back home? Right. So I would implore school board members to utilize not only data from the Arizona Department of Health, but national data. Look at the trends. Look at what's happening in other states with other school districts who have already moved forward and opened, who are now having to retract their openings, and so which I think is more disruptive. So yeah, you want to let kids back on campus, and then you have to shut it down because 1 or 2 kids test positive. That's more disruptive to the learning experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we just got a stick to the data. It's not healthy to go back now, and I know there's a lot of pressure, and I know the reasons why. There are many families, especially for the littles, they need to be in a classroom, but they need to be in a safe classroom. So thank you so much for championing that, the safety for our families, for our students, and our educators.
Well, let me thank you guys. Let me thank you because, look, all along this entire time, I've heard nothing from the educators in our district that they want to be back in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
They want to teach their kids,
Yeah.
okay?
Yes.
It's not like they enjoy this virtual environment. We know that. Our teachers want to get back.
Yeah, I'm
okay?
working twice as hard, and that is no joke. Like, we're not sitting back at home. Yes, we are at home. Some of us, some unfortunately have to go
Sure.
into a classroom and do digital. I don't understand that. I don't know if you do that at yours. But I am, and I am a strong union member, but I work an hour to 2 hours every day off contract time. I promised myself I would never do that. These are my contractual hours. That's
Right.
what I work. I have to,
Yeah.
in order to provide somewhat of a quality education, the best I can provide. And 2 hours is a minimum. I know kindergarten teachers are, like, they call me like, Chico, 4 hours every day after I teach all day. So a message to all the parents out there: we are working our tails off to provide this education, but we're doing it, and we're not complaining about that extra time because we just want to make sure everyone's safe.
Hands down. And you know what? I'll never forget this conversation I had with a teacher in my district. We had a conversation right before we were getting ready to vote on whether teachers should teach virtually from the classroom on campus or not.
Yeah.
And she said, "Look, Devin, I'm dying to go back to the classroom, but I don't want to die because I went back to the classroom."
Wow.
Okay?
Perfectly
I'm dying
said.
to go back to the classroom, but I don't want to die because I went back to the classroom.
Right.
And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. No one should ever have to ask someone else
Mm-hmm.
to support them so that way they don't risk dying.
Yeah.
And so, again, this is something very serious, and we all ought to treat it as such because it is a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. And now with the new revelations, that's super early, from the president,
Yeah.
saying that he knew this was dangerous and that it was more dangerous than the flu, that
Yeah.
it was airborne, that should ought to be a wake-up call to everybody. And so if that doesn't do it, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
And one data point that I wanted to throw in that our governor has been ignoring is that our NOT number is increasing. It's above the 1.0, and so that's an indicator that the virus is continuing to spread. Just wanted to throw
So
that out there.
we are not ready to go back.
That is correct because it continues to spread.
Okay.
And as the last time I checked the data dashboard, I believe we're over still 12% for positivity for the positivity rate. And so I know I wouldn't feel comfortable, and a lot of us wouldn't feel comfortable until that's below 5%, and even lower than that.
Sure.
Again, my whole thing is this: why rush to go back? We understand our kids need education.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we utilize this time to educate them on how to be better human beings, and maybe focus just on the social and emotional aspect?
Yeah.
Do we have to introduce that academic component now while they're experiencing so much stress?
Right.
Maybe why don't we use this opportunity to reimagine how we can make our students better people, right? Like, why can't we utilize this time to do that? I'll tell you what, if we return back to quote unquote normal without addressing these inequities, we have missed an opportunity. We have missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
So this is why I encourage all the education advocates, teachers, school board members, parents, don't settle for going back to the status quo.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Just take this opportunity and really to make it better for your children and then the children that are going to come after those children.
Yep.
That's what we're all here to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But we're going to go back to testing.
Man, don't.
Okay, that's another topic for another day.
That's another
Yeah,
topic
that's
for
another-
another day.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
All
go
right.
ahead. Yeah,
Okay, you
yeah,
sure?
Yeah.
All right.
Take
So,
it.
let's go into funding public education. I know my guy over here is like, Chico, we're going a little long, but sometimes we got to go long. Sometimes we go. Funding public education, and I've been walking a lot, collecting signatures, really championing Invest in Ed, and now we know it's Prop 208. What would Prop 208, an influx of $900 million plus into public education, do for your school district, the programs, for the kids, for the students, for the faculty?
Well, I tell you what, it would certainly put us in a position that's better than where we're at now. Okay, in my district, as a governing board member, we've done the best that we could in terms of supporting our educators, ensuring that they're receiving pay raises and that they have affordable benefits. But there's only so much we can do because of the budget.
Right.
And so this would only enhance and elevate, I think, not only my district but districts across the state. It would increase retention because now you can pay teachers hopefully a living wage. And what, in my opinion, we would have the support we need in terms of school counselors, safety professionals on campus, mental health professionals on campus. All right, and then this would also invest in a teacher academy. We need a pipeline. We need a stronger pipeline of educators coming through. Because I tell you what, a lot of young students see how educators are being treated, and they say, "I don't want that." No one respects educators. They work hard. They don't get compensated. No one appreciates them. I'm not doing it, and that's sad. It's a sad state of affairs to be in.
Yeah.
We don't have a pipeline of solid, young, great teachers coming through. Who's going to educate this next generation of our workforce or just members of our society? And so we need to invest in these teacher academies. We need to invest in mentors for our educators that are coming, that are brand new coming out of school, to ensure that we have sustainable retention rates. And so yeah, this is extremely important. Prop 208. Top 1% are going to be the ones paying for this. 99% of us will not.
That's correct.
So, okay, so Devin, because we are getting the cutoff point, let's see how brief and concise and amazing you can answer this question. So, why do we need strong board members? Like, why? Because I think when people think of strong board members, school board members, they're just kind of sitting there and they're just kind of doing the stamp for the superintendent. So why do we need strong board members? Well,
it's exactly for the reason that you just mentioned. We have 2 board members rubber stamping, and not enough board members leading.
Ooh.
So we need more board members that are going to be courageous, ask the tough questions, do their homework, and seek out resources to be the best public servant they can be.
Leaders in their community.
Period. School board members are literally shaping the minds of our future. They decide the curriculum. They vote on the budget. They decide to open and close schools. And I tell you, majority of the school board members are older individuals, 60 plus, white men, retired. And so that's another issue. We need school board members that reflect the majority of our students in our classrooms today. Period, hands down. And so I would encourage that those who are seeking to be school board members, that you do not just utilize this as a place that you use to step on to the next position. If you get elected, you have a responsibility, as I mentioned, to work on behalf of your students, your teachers, and your community to tear down those barriers of inequity. So it's extremely important. It's dire. And I'll tell you what, there's some school districts that have vacancies that go unfilled. That go unfilled. So we wonder why public education has not improved in Arizona. Well, we don't have strong school board members. All right, we don't have strong leaders that are willing to vote on policies that will enhance, the campus. And so.
And can I just say one final thing to all the school board members, including yourself? We're one of the states that does not pay school board members.
Yes.
So you are, in essence, doing it for free.
And it's a lot of work, man. I see what you guys put in.
Yeah, it's a volunteer, so it's an elected position. You have to collect signatures, run, get voted on, but it doesn't come with any compensation. And it can be like a second job. For those who are truly passionate about being a public servant, it can definitely be a part-time job on top of your normal job. And so I like to thank you for bringing that up, because it's important for folks to know that we don't get compensated to do this. We do this because we care.
Absolutely.
We go to these meetings because we care. And so, very important point to mention. Other states do compensate school board members quite handsomely, but here in Arizona, they don't. And so that's another issue, I think, also for discussion. But
maybe something to bring up to the legislature. I don't know.
Okay. Pays in a whole nother thing. But I think we are.
I think, yeah. Tim's like getting up now, and he's like.
The production crew is getting hungry.
Yeah. He's got the. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you all for having me. Appreciate it. Great conversation. Thank you for what you do.
Woo!